Yeah, I was talking to somebody not too long ago. And I was out, I was just traveling. I went to Florida for a little bit. Um and I went out there to go to a tech convention. Basically they were just hiring, other people for IT work and stuff like this. And I am on the verge of trying to, get to that point. I did rub some elbows with a few people, which, is always a good thing to, bring some networking and connection. But somebody asked me, what do I think about the Trump tariffs, right? I don't feel personally connected to that. And I'm gonna tell you why. Even though I know the food prices went up, the property prices went up, everything is pretty much went up. But this been happening for for a long time already. I would dare to say almost like 10 years ago. If you really look at the timeline of which everything happened, I think around Biden term when he was in office and he was talking about the tariffs actually.
Some have said a Trump stance is a good one to counter China's influence. Would you keep the tariffs?
No, hey, look, who said
You
Trump's
would.
idea is a good one? Who said Trump's idea is a good one?
Some
Some,
feel that.
some, two or three people. Manufacturing has gone in recession. Agriculture lost billions of dollars that taxpayers had to pay. We're going after China in the wrong way. China is stealing intellectual property. China is conditioning being able to do business in China and based on whether or not you have 51% Chinese ownership. That's got to end. I've spent a fair amount of time when I was vice president with President Xi because the president wanted me to get to know him. He's no Democrat with a small d at all. But here's the deal. I made it real
So if you
clear.
scrap
He
those
insi-
tariffs, what do you want in return? Or are you just going to scrap them without any concessions?
No, here's the deal. The question is, what is the appropriate behavior that they have to engage in international trade with us? And they have to play by the international rules. And what we have done is we have disarmed ourselves. We make up 25% of the world's economy, but we poked our finger in the eye of all of our allies out there. The way China will respond is when we gather the rest of the world that in fact believes in open trade and making sure that we're in a position that the world that we deal with WHO the right way. That in fact that's when things began to change.
And I don't understand why people never spoke about it before. What made, and this is the question that I had for this person, like what made this person ask me this as if I was supposed to downplay what Trump is doing, because I guess he wanted to know my political views. And I tell people all the time, I don't have a political view on what the politician nerds do. I do follow it and I do have my own opinion about it. And the opinion that I typically have is not always the opinion that other people can agree upon. Because I could tell you one thing about Trump, what he's doing is a business move that everybody should already got privy of by just him being that type of person. Everything that he does on purpose. Everything that any politician do, they do on purpose. So I can't just blame the tariff situation on him. But I would say him implementing it because of his ideology of what he think America should be is something that is personal to him, that he wants to deeply go by and actually make it happen, which he already did. A lot of other countries is pleading with him, especially Africa and Vietnam. They already trying to plead with him about trying to work with him, but he's not having it. So he's specifically looking for something that I personally don't really know. I didn't really look deep into it, but I could tell you that, does it affect me personally? I would tell you no, it doesn't affect me at all. Everything that's been happening already is already happening. We already been in a sovereign section, like I said, almost 10 years, probably over 10 years, and we don't really talk about it because it's never been put out in the forefront. I think with Trump being in office, it made everybody more aware about how things are. And you got the TikTokers that's on there making up narratives. You got people on YouTube got their opinions on it, being biased against it or for it or something like this. See, me, I'm like in between. I'm only affected when it's affecting me. Now, if it's not affecting me, then I don't really have anything to say about it. Other than that, it's happening. Other than that, is it wrong? In some instance, yes. Is it right? In some instance, I get the idea of why he's doing it. You know what I mean? So I would say my family, in particular, my mother, because at one point she was Democrat. You know, at one point she was like, oh, you know, Biden this, Kamala that. You know, they all had this thing going with that. You know, because it was big at that time. Everybody wanted Trump off the office because somehow reason they thought Trump brought in COVID. That's just something I don't understand how that's even like a thing. Like, even though COVID back in 2019 was already basically being exposed, and you know, they try to say he didn't act on it the way he should and all this stuff. I don't know who to blame with that. Everything in my opinion is a monopoly. Everything that's happening right now is meant to happen. Like I said, everything for us, like these current events, Trump being in office, him doing these tariffs, him, you know, trying to bring back America industrial system and all this stuff. I actually talked about this in one of my tech videos, how the stock market is going to go up in the future because of what it is that's happening. Right now, they're trying to scare everybody. It's a fear-mongering tactic that they're trying to do. I'm just being honest with y'all, because I don't think y'all understand how important this whole situation is. But at some point, if it does succeed, it will benefit, you know, the working class, the people that need jobs, the people, you know, that actually need assistance. They will have more money to do all these things. But if it keeps happening, it could also become a horrible crash, which means that, you know, it's going to be hard for them to actually bring this back up. This is going to go back to like when this happened, like the I don't know, 19 something. Y'all probably know, like when the recession happened and everything crashed, like really bad. But I can tell you that if you want to be historical about this, it only crashed because of the things that I would say my people actually had that they didn't have. I really don't want to get into that, but if you know, you know. It didn't really affect us 100%. It just affected the people that they served to be in this constitutional that they made up, which is America. So that's basically what that was about. But that was a hard crash for all businesses at that time. You know what I mean? So that was a really dangerous thing that was happening at that moment. This here, I don't think this is as bad as people making it seem, but I can see it being a really bad thing in the future if this keeps up. And me personally, I don't feel like anybody has any say so about what's going on, because if we had our own system, if we had our own government, if we had our own everything, this would be a problem that they had to deal with on their own. We will already have something in place if we had our own government, if we had our own assistance, if we had our own, you know, things that would basically give, like, for us to be more resourceful for each other. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So if you follow by this stuff and you're afraid because of what's happening, everything is TBA at this point. We don't really know what's going to happen, but when it does happen, we will know. And that's pretty much my opinion on this terrorist thing. I don't really know a lot about it, but I know enough to tell you that if you're worried about it right now, you are following the fear-mongering trend that people is putting out there, and you don't want to follow that trend. Trust me. If you're living your everyday life and nothing is basically bothering you, and you're just, you know, existing at this point, living in this country, working, doing what you got to do, you know, and, you know, paying off whatever you have to pay off, just understanding that the prices of everything is going up and you have to do something about that, I would say that will probably be the only thing that you should worry about. Everything else, leave it to the politicians. Leave it to the people that actually have to do this stuff because they care, either for their reputation or whatever it is that they care about. But for you personally, for me, you know, the everyday people that, you know, work, does things, you know, take care of our families and stuff, nothing to worry about. I'm just being honest with you. It's good to know, research. It's good to know everything that's happening around you. Yes. But if you're taking it to heart and it's not officially affecting you, just leave it on scraps. Just leave it alone. But that is my opinion on it. If you find this helpful, if you got some type of understanding, especially my opinion on this, if you have anything to talk about other than, your opinion about the tariffs, let me know. I mean, I'm curious to want to hear. Anyway, I'm out. Thank you for listening. Peace.